I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 177. If you don't already know, I'm Kep Chardello, coming to you on Monday, November 11th. And the more quarterbacks, the merrier, right? Isn't that the old adage? You want as many quarterbacks out there as you can get. Oh, it worked out for the Bobcats. They played multiple QBs on Saturday, and they beat the ULM Warhawks 38-17 in Monroe. Rainy weather. Bobcats gritty win. Had to change their scheme, change a lot of what they do in order to get that victory, and it worked out. It's nice to see after a two-game skid leading into that one. Nice to see him get back on track, but still a lot of questions remain with this team. It's nice to see the grit of that win, but there's a lot of personnel questions going on. A lot of notable players are missing on the defensive line specifically, and in some other areas. We're going to get to all of that. We're going to talk about the game. We'll go through the game real quick, talk about the scoring, a few stats. Then we're going to jump into some questions. Shout out to all the questions called for a mailbag. It's been a little while since we've had an episode. We'll get into that as well. So we wanted to hear from you a little bit. So that was nice little nice turnout on these questions. Good questions too. I like where it's not, even after a win, it's not all positivity. It should be positive for the Bobcats, and we'll pepper in the positivity as we always do, but we're going to keep it real in the same breath. Before we get to any of that, though, this episode is brought to you by First Lockhart National Bank. As the largest financial institution headquartered in Caldwell County, First Lockhart National Bank expanded to San Marcos in 2018 and opened a state-of-the-art branch on Hunter Road in 2020. For the past 6 years, FLNB has provided a wide range of financial services that have significantly improved the quality of life for the San Marcos community and beyond. Whether you need personal or business checking accounts, business loans, or home mortgages, they've got you covered. Plus, they offer innovative services like video banking, business banking, and a top-of-the-line mobile banking app. FLNB is also a huge supporter of Texas State football, standing out as one of the largest initial investors in NIL deals for Bobcats players. Be sure to follow them on Twitter, X, @FirstLockhart, and on Instagram, @FirstLockhart. Shout out to my guy, Gil Hodges, Senior Vice President at FLNB in MLS, number 2475765. He's a proud Texas State grad and a diehard fan, and we are thrilled to be partnering with Gil and FLNB all season long. You can find them at 2507 Hunter Road, that's 2507 Hunter Road, or give them a call at 512-504-7422. Again, that's 512-504-7422. First Lockhart National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions may vary. Hey, Bobcat Nation. Looking for your next real estate move? McNabb and Company Real Estate Services has been proudly Bobcat owned and operated for over 15 years. They're your go-to team for buying, selling, investing, and managing properties and everything else in between. Whether you're a fan or an alum, they've got the local expertise and full service support you need. Call them today at 512-667-9129. That's 512-667-9129, or visit them at mcnabbandco.com. That's MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. McNabb and Company, where Bobcats find their home. Give them a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at McNabb & Co. Thank you to Monica Katz, a day one Bobcat supporter. Now she's partnering with us this season. Check them out. That's mcnabbandco.com, MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. Shout out to both our sponsors at the top. We're going to be doing some episodes at their locations. We're going to be pinning them down real soon. I'll make sure to announce them. Some of them, we're going to do one at Zelix. Maybe we can get some of y'all to come on out there and hang out with us, have a beer, talk about some Bobcats. Also give a quick shout out to Austin Patchmaster, our very, very first sponsor. If you remember, in the spring of 2023, we secured a great sponsor from Austin Patchmaster. Our guy Michael Clements there. He's back. We'll start unveiling that ad in the next episode, this preview episode coming up against Southern Miss this week. So shout out to Austin Patchmaster. All right. It's been too long since we've done an episode. Sickness has been permeating throughout my entire household for the last 2 weeks. As many of you know, I have two children, very small children. My daughter just turned 2 years old. My son just crossed the 7 month threshold. And they are sharing diseases back and forth, which were shared with my wife and myself. It's been quite a 2 week journey. I think it all started with a flu shot, but I don't know. There was some illness going on before that, but it seems like anything and everything that could happen has been happening. Fever, running nose, coughing, and now even this morning, it's Monday morning. I wanted to actually do this one on Sunday. I'm glad I waited though, because a lot of really good questions came in on Monday morning and Sunday night. So I'm glad I waited. That's a good note for future mailbags, where if I give it an extra day to kind of marinate, some good questions pop up. But yeah, I went to the doctor this morning, brought my son, Madden Michael Chardello, brought him in there, double ear infections. So there you go. We're not out of the woods yet with anything. I'm feeling better, which is great. I was pretty sick last week. That got me. I was down for the count during the election, which, is probably a good thing. Missed a lot of the discourse, which is it's probably better for my mental health. I'm all about sports, I'm glad it's done. It felt like the longest election ever. Really. I'm just glad it's done and we're here talking Bobcats. Feels good. But we're not, yeah. Lots of disease going on through my household. So I'm sorry for the delay. It's a roundabout way of saying that. I appreciate everyone's patience out there while we get all our immune systems in order in the Chardello household. But let's get to these Bobcats. Let's talk some Bobcats. ULM recap. Texas State wins 38-17. That improves the Bobcats to 5-4, 3-2. We'll set the table a little bit because, like I said, it's been a bit since we did a pod. So the two previous games they lost, Old Dominion, 24-14 in a gross game. Didn't like that game at all. That was on the road in Norfolk, Virginia. Didn't score any points in the first half in that one. The Bobcats looked out of whack. Didn't look anything like they did the week prior, the 2 weeks prior, where they had great wins over Arkansas State and Troy. And they followed it up with that performance at ODU, and then they followed that up with a field goal off against Louisiana. That's usually a much more interesting game, even when the Bobcats are in the low point of some of their history. That game has always been somewhat interesting. Wasn't interesting at all on that. It's 23-16. So some lackluster performances in those two games. Some weird games, and then honestly, they got back on track with a win on Saturday, but it was a pretty weird win. Right now, we'll talk about their record a little bit before I get into the game. They're tied for second in the Sun Belt West Division. They're tied with Arkansas State, who they just beat 41-9. So they do have that tiebreaker if it does end up with the same one. But being second doesn't really matter in the West Division because it's whoever wins the West Division and whoever wins the East Division, they play in the Sun Belt Championship. Winner of that game is the Sun Belt champion. Louisiana is on top of the West Division, 8-1, 5-0 overall record. They would have to lose out the rest of their games because it's conference that plays into it more. I tweeted about the overall records and how it wasn't possible, but that was I corrected it in the replies, but it's the conference records that matter the most. And right now, Texas State 3-2, Louisiana 5-0, 3 games left for each. Louisiana loses all 3, they're 5-3. Texas State wins all 3, they're 6-2. Bobcats would go to the Sun Belt Championship. Now, if it's say Louisiana goes 2-1 and it's the same record, Louisiana beat Texas State 23-16. That game really mattered. I really felt like that was one that they should have played up for a little bit more, but it is what it is. 0-12 all time versus the Ragin' Cajuns. 0-11 officially because there's one that was a vacated win due to recruiting, 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. I forget about that with the Ragin' Cajuns, but still 0-12, 0-11. What's the difference? So it would take a lot for the Bobcats. They still have a chance. So it is nice that this point in the season that there is still a chance. It's a disappointment as far as the preseason expectations of where they should be, as far as the talent that they have, as far as building on what they did last season. It just felt like it should be more than 5-4 at this time. I predicted them 10-2 before the season. Won't get there. Right now they're double the losses that I expected them to have the full season. So they haven't met expectations, but on a positive note, they are one game away from bowl eligibility. It is a fifth win after spending 8 seasons having the fifth win elude them. They never had more than 4 wins in a season between 2015 and 2022. I vividly remember those 8 seasons. It's a 23-73 overall record in that time. I think I'm pretty sure that's right. I had a post it where I'd have that and I'd have it up every time I'd record, just so I remember those times where I feel like I want to take it easy a little bit in some areas. I got to remember that because that's what happens when you take it easy and you let mediocrity fester for that long. It tends to avalanche into 23-73. I remember it was like 50 losses more than that one. So it's a small achievement, but it's an achievement worth noting for this program that was so downtrodden for a long time. GJ Kinney, both of his seasons, he was able to get that fifth win. It's the sixth win that makes you bowl eligible. And it's the ones after that sixth win that help you get a Sun Belt championship. That's not likely this year. They went out and they're at 8 wins, as we were discussing earlier. Usually it takes 9 to 10, somewhere around there. This is a team that I feel like is good enough to be a Sun Belt champion. They have gotten to this point with struggling to truly find its identity, and we saw it on Saturday. It worked out in a win. They've been able to have that talent show through, but just to nail down that identity, it's interesting that you just don't know what to expect a lot of the time. You know the defense is going to get a lot of pass rush, and you know the offense is going to get a lot of yards. A lot of times you don't know how the yards are going to come. Came with a lot of running, is what we saw on Saturday. In fact, let's pivot to that game. We'll talk about what happened on Saturday against ULM. Rainy weather, rained the whole game basically. Both teams had to run the ball a lot. ULM, that's something that was anticipated with them, whether it rained or not. It seemed like they were going to want to run the ball quite a bit. So the Bobcats were prepared, it felt, to put some extra guys in the box and really put the clamps down on the run game. At least it worked in the first half. They got a little bit of leeway in the second half. ULM did, but for the most part, it worked out. On offense, they ran the ball 54 times. Texas State did 54 times to 14 passes, 398 yards of total offense. 398 yards and 38 points in weather like that against a ULM team that has been playing pretty well. Their defense has been pretty good. That's impressive, no matter what. I know I'm saying all the things about their identity and all of that. I'm still very impressed with this team. This is still a really good team. It's hard it seems like they are struggling to nail down exactly where they're at and where they're going. But 326 of those 398 yards were on the ground running the ball. Brad Jackson, I mean, that's where we got to start. I joked about it at the top of it. They started Jordan McLeod, and then Brad Jackson came in, seemed a little scattered in the first half. It scattered as far as when he would come in. He'd come in, he came in for a play, and then he'd come out. Then he'd go in for a couple plays, and he'd come out. Then he'd come in, and he ran a whole series, and he led him to a touchdown. And then the second half, it was just all Brad Jackson for the rest of the way. Fascinating stuff to see. There's a lot of questions, so I won't step on too many of the Brad Jackson questions. I'll say my initial thoughts on why we saw Brad Jackson more than McLeod, whether he was injured or not. We saw again in the Louisiana game, he didn't play the second half. It was RJ Martinez, which made the Brad Jackson situation even more interesting. They teased it. The broadcast team teased it before the game in their pregame lead-in. They talked about how GJ Kinney was telling them that might see some of these other guys playing quarterback, which was it ended up being true. I like that he teased it, and it actually came to fruition. Because I first heard that, I'm like, yeah, fat chance. But look at that. It ended up being that. But yeah, RJ Martinez, he played that second half against Louisiana. They had 12 days off since that Louisiana game. It was a Tuesday game. So they were able to take extended time off. Seemed like a sprained ankle with Jordan McLeod. Even right after in that game, he's warming up on the sideline. He's throwing passes. He's moving around, trying to feel it out, doing some juke moves and stuff like that on the sideline. So he was moving
in that Louisiana game right after it. So I was like, okay, it's structurally, it's nothing that they're overly concerned about, where they're putting him on crutches, putting him in a boot, what have you. And on the inverse, we saw Stephen Parker, team leader in sacks, same game. He hurt his lower leg crutches at the end of that game. So I anticipated McLeod would come back, but even he's a young man. He's a terrific athlete, but even the best athletes and the youngest bodies that heal quick still are going to feel the effects of a sprained ankle within 2 weeks of happening. So I imagine they looked at the landscape of the game. It's raining, going to run the ball a lot. Don't necessarily want to run with your starting quarterback. If he's already injured, get him even more injured, exacerbate that injury, and then you miss out on him for the whole season. They put in the true freshman, Brad Jackson. He does really well running the ball, though with the hot hand. This is what's working this game. I don't expect it the rest of the way it's going to be Brad Jackson. I still think this is very much Jordan McLeod's team. That's without. We'll get to talk to GJ Kinney on Tuesday for the press conference. I imagine he'll say the same deal. But that's what it felt like to me. They put him in there. I mean, first run, 4 yards. Second run, 4 yards. And then he started getting more than 4 yards. Started picking up first downs. And it was like, okay, might as well roll with this guy. Let's go through his stats. Young Brad Jackson, big bad Brad Jackson. I saw Reagan High School tweeting about him. He's a local guy from San Antonio, right down the road. Gonna write something for the Express News about him. So you look out for that one. I saw Reagan High School tweeting big bad Brad Jackson. So I like that. We'll use that here too. Didn't pass a whole lot. 4 for 9, 16 yards passing. 2 passes that were almost picked. A couple other ones were suspect. Didn't love the passing, but it was also rainy weather. I mean, Aiden Arminta for ULM, pretty decent quarterback, young man himself, freshman, I believe. He was having a tough time throwing the ball as well. But running the ball, that's where he really did it. 17 rushes for 126 yards. I'm pretty sure I tweeted out 119 yards, but I guess it's 126 he finished with, and 2 touchdowns for Brad Jackson, 2 rushing touchdowns. He wasn't the only 100-yard rusher. We saw Deion Hankins, 117 yards and a touchdown. Big Deion Hankins, big guy. Motti started the game, 9 rushes, 45 yards, but Hankins finished it. I mean, he's a massive running back, looking at 230, I believe. He's about 230 pounds. Wearing number 88. Must have been an issue with the jersey. What was he, 33, 31 before? I think he was 33. Must have been, yeah, it was 33, because then 88, that's kind of funny if you think about it. 33, 88. They look very similar, 3 and an 8. But I liked 88 on it. I haven't seen it on a running back before. I want to see it again. It kind of reminded me of Keenan Brown. Remember that 2018 season for you real sickos that were the last Withers season with Keenan Brown, and they were doing all kinds of fun stuff with him at tight end. He was an Oklahoma State transfer, and they'd line him up at Wildcat, direct snap to him. They'd do some jet sweep to him. Of course, they'd pass to him. He's a tight end. They do some fun stuff, but it's just seeing a big guy in the backfield do some things. It just brought back some memories of Keenan Brown for me. So I really like seeing Hankins. We've been talking about him all season. We've talked about, well, maybe he needs to be the goal line guy. And I mean, maybe he needs to be the second back. Burgess has been doing some terrific stuff, but I really liked what I saw from Hankins. Really like these running backs. This is a deep running back room, and it was nice to see. It's like, okay, we're gonna fully commit to this run game in this one, and it worked out for this team. For you have Jordan McLeod, so you want to pass the ball. I'm sure he wants to get those stats, and they want to get him those stats because he's coming in 1 year left. He wants to play at the next level. But man, when they run the ball, things are humming because this offensive line, this Texas State O-line is terrific this season. One of the few teams in the whole country. Gosh, I need to knock on all the wood before saying this. I don't even want to say it, but they said it in the broadcast, so I feel like I could say it. Something I clocked as well earlier in the season that it's still the same starters 9 games into the season. All the same guys. I mean, we saw 2 games in the season last year. Nash Jones went down for like 9, 10 games. So it's a very physical hard position. And to have all of your guys still there is impressive for this team. But I really liked when I saw them run the ball, and for a team that is struggling to find that identity, run that ball. I mean, that was That was good stuff. I really liked it. It's more my style instead of all I really like the meat and potatoes. I know I beat the table probably too much for a tight end. Still think Connor Fox, something. There's more there. I really like the 12 personnel. I like when they would put in Titus Lyons as well. They do some fun stuff. You know, they really, it's a little different than all the pomp and circumstance that you see with the pre-snap and just in the spacing and just when they just handed the ball off and ran right at him. I mean, snapped the ball to Brad Jackson and just straight QB draw with barely any options or anything. It was just snap the ball and he'd take off on a few of them and they'd get some good yards. You're more talented than most of the teams you're going to face. Definitely more talented than the team this week, Southern Miss. We'll get into that a little bit as well. But this is, and if it's bully ball, you have the bigger guys. You have the bigger O line. You have the bigger running backs with Hankins. That's for sure. I like to see that a little more. We'll see if that's how they finish out the year. But I think that is really it's my biggest note for this team. 9 games into the season is they really need to nail down their identity and fortify doing what they do and figuring that out specifically because this is a young staff and you can see them learn on the go with a lot of things. And that's a good thing because I'll say this, I would much rather this staff learn, figure it out, this young staff figure it out here in San Marcos at Texas State than going somewhere else and learning and growing there. This is a good opportunity. I just said it, the fifth win. You know, obviously the standards need to be higher than 5 wins, but that was higher than what they had the 8 years prior before this staff got in here. And so even though there is some stuff that they need to figure out and nail down as coaches, I want them to figure it out here. I'd much rather GJ Kinney figure it out here because that even goes into it why they played Brad Jackson over RJ Martinez. After Martinez, I was very impressed with what he did against Louisiana. He led the Bobcats on a touchdown drive. It has a strong arm, no doubt about that. He's got a terrific arm. But it wasn't obviously don't know if that would have been the future, but I was impressed with him. It goes to show what we saw against ULM that maybe they don't foresee him as the future. They're trying to see if Brad Jackson is possibly that. But even Kinney choosing to play a true freshman that point in the season, you need that win. You need that win against ULM. You're on a 2-game skid. It's a bold choice. Put in a true freshman for his first snaps in that game, and it worked out. And I tweeted about it. I was saying this is one of the first signs of GJ Kinney thinking towards the next year, development. You know, he's brought in a lot of transfers, specifically at that quarterback position. Everywhere he's gone, even Incarnate Word, bringing in Lindsey Scott. That was a transfer as his quarterback. Last year, TJ Finley, that's a transfer. The backup, Malik Hornsby, that's a transfer. The starter and the backup this year, transfers. And so it is interesting to see him. Brad Jackson was in high school last season. He got to Texas State early, was there in spring practice, looked great in spring practice. I'm going to tell you who really liked him is our great producer, the Wizard Zachary Webb. He was a big Brad Jackson fan. We had an episode leading into the season where he was raving about him because what we were seeing in the spring and leading into the season was pretty terrific. And you'd hear the coaches rave about him, even though we've talked a lot about PJ Hatter, and he's a great talent as well. Brad Jackson surpassed him, which was interesting. But it's one of the first signs where GJ Kinney is developing. He's building towards next year. He's thinking towards next season at Texas State. And, you know, there's a lot of that's always been in question with him when you looked at his 6 years before Texas State, each year was at a different school. And even when he was the head coach in Incarnate Word, 1 year comes to Texas State. So this was the first time he had a second season. So to see him thinking towards a third season, I just feel like that's a good place to be in for Texas State fans and for the program in general and for GJ Kinney to see that his mind is on Texas State and in San Marcos. Be where your feet are, as Coach DePrato likes to say a lot. I like that phrase, be where your feet are, be where you are. It just shows that he's thinking about that, which is nice because I've got a lot going on in my life. 2 little kids, sick all the time. This is the second bout of illness this season. There was even some in fall camp. It's crazy. You know, with one, I had the daughter, it's fine. You get the other one in the mix, man, and they just just start passing them back and forth and they pass it to you. It's crazy stuff. But I don't want to do a coaching search this offseason. I mean, maybe by next season things will be a little tamer. I don't want to do one next season either, though, honestly. I like GJ Kinney. I like the direction he has this program. He still has a ways to go coaching, but I want him to figure it out here in San Marcos. Wow, that was 25 minutes on just that. I guess, when you play a true freshman quarterback, that's quite a bit. I guess I spent a lot of time talking ads and everything at the beginning. So let's do this. Let's go through the scoring really fast in this game. Really, really fast, because we always go through the scoring in these recaps. 28-0 lead for the Bobcats at halftime. Deion Hankins got the first touchdown, a 3-yard rush in the first quarter. Cole Wilson, 41-yard touchdown catch by Jordan McLeod. Jordan McLeod didn't start the game, but he had a touchdown pass and a touchdown run. A respectable first half from him. That play to Cole Wilson as well. They did a snap. It was a fake handoff, bootleg to the left. Looked like he might take off and run the ball, and then he just dumped it right over their head, right in between, right over the defenders, and away Cole Wilson went. Boy, Cole Wilson, he peels the top off defenses. They stopped him when on punt returns. It's Joey Hobart. If you notice that, it's Joey Hobart after he muffed. Cole Wilson muffed some punts. Seems like they switched to Hobart, which I'm okay with. Cole Wilson, he's still a weapon, though. I mean, he's a terrific threat on offense. In the second quarter, Jordan McLeod, 6-yard touchdown rush, made it 21-0. And then Brad Jackson, big bad Brad Jackson, 2-yard touchdown rush. That whole drive, that's a 14-rush, 83-yard drive, 3 minutes and 52 seconds off the clock. I wish, I don't want to spend the time going back and looking at that drive. I'm pretty sure it was either all rushes or pretty close to it. And the bulk of it was Brad Jackson. So I kind of understand why after halftime, come out, Brad Jackson is behind center for the Bobcats. But ULM, they started to get back in the mix, consecutive touchdowns from Ahmad Hardy. Nice running back for ULM. He had a good game. 2 long drives, though, for the Warhawks in that third quarter. It's the third quarter. Seems to be the bane of the Bobcats' existence is that third quarter. But a 13-yard rush or 13-play drive, 75 yards, 7 minutes and 12 seconds in that third quarter. That was the start of the third quarter. And then they all but ended it with a 9-play, 63-yard drive. That was a lot of it is they ball controlled. They ran the ball. They do what they've been doing, and they were able to control it. But Bobcats get it back. 6-play drive. I'm pretty sure this was off a turnover. I wish I'd made a note of that turnover. Great turnovers by the defense. An interception by Trez Moore. This might be that interception. Pretty sure that is that interception. They also had a fumble recovery. There's 3 times ULM fumbled. Bobcats only recovered 1, but that was that rainy weather really played a factor. But leading into that field goal, I'm pretty certain that's the Trez Moore interception. I know it was off a turnover. That's why it's a short drive. But 32-yarder from Mason Shipley, that made it 31-14. A little bit of a cushion, made it feel a little bit better right there. ULM, they're able to put together a 62-yard drive. Don't find the end zone, though. Field goal themselves, 31-yard field goal. And then Brad Jackson put it away in the last minute. 56 seconds left, 13-yard touchdown. 10-play, 75-yard drive, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. Pretty sure that was a lot of runs itself on that one, because they tried. I appreciated how they did it. I think that was in the third quarter where they were trying to get Brad Jackson some passing, see what it looked like. 9 attempts, completed 4 of them, but 2 of those very easily could have been interceptions. Would have been really bad. So he has a ways to go in the passing department. Although rainy day, you got to give it a little bit of grace with that. But I still think that what he did running the ball was very impressive. Tough runner, true freshman. That's an 18-year-old guy. The guy was in high school last season, and he's out there not afraid of the moment, not afraid of these defenders. So hats off to Brad Jackson. A lot of questions about him, so I won't continue to rave too much. We'll do some quick stats and we'll jump into these questions. Let's look at these stats. Some quick comparison. 398 total yards for the Bobcats, 278 for ULM. The rushing game, that's where it really was. 326 for Texas State, 159 for ULM on a rainy day where everybody's running the ball. 40 attempts, 159 yards for ULM in that one. Defense, defensive stats. No, we had some, who was it? Dominic Ratcliffe. There he is. Yeah, he had a nice sack for Dominic Ratcliffe. Bryce Bass got a sack wearing number 0 instead of 15. A lot of number switches this game. Mentioned Hankins wearing 88 instead of 33. But a lot of injuries on this defensive line. We'll talk about that. They were still able to handle this rush attack from ULM pretty well. Let's go to rushing real fast. 126 for Jackson, 117 for Hankins, 45 for Motti, 31 from Perry. He got in the mix as well. 7 for Burgess. They really unloaded that running back room, which you like to see. Not a lot going on with the receivers. 3 for 53 and a touchdown for Cole Wilson. That was the leader in that room. And then ULM stats, some Aiden Armina, 13 for 24, 119 yards passing and interception. Weather played a big factor into that, but nice defense by the Bobcats to take advantage of that. No 100-yard rushers. Oh, yeah, one. Yeah, Hardy. 105 yards for Hardy. He had a nice 40-yard run that led to that field goal in the fourth quarter for the Warhawks. That's a pretty good player for them. Let's get to these questions. Quick through the stats. You can tell my heart wasn't in that stat read, huh? That wasn't that great. I want to get to the questions. You have great questions, and I don't want to step on their toes. So let's do it. Let's jump right into it. I know I have one in the DM, so we'll go that. Question for the mailbag from my guy at BaseballNut46. What's up, my guy? I got to come to your tailgate and get some food. Been a busy season for me, but we got Southern Miss coming up this week. I'll reach out to you, see if you're out there. Have we ever been 27-point favorites in any game? I know we've been bigger underdogs, but I can't think of being 27-point favorites. Earlier in the year, they were 33.5-point favorites to Lamar. I don't know if that's the biggest for Texas State. There's obviously been with the FCS opponents like Lamar, it's a little exaggerated. I imagine it's up there as far as Sunbelt opponents, because that is Texas State. I saw 26.5. The question said 27-point favorites. Bobcats are significantly favored over Southern Miss this weekend. That is quite a big spread going into that one. So we'll see how they can live up to that or not. But yeah, they have had some bigger ones. Lamar earlier this year. I don't know what the biggest ones ever, but that would be an interesting one to go back and look for the Sun Belt. See what their biggest how much their largest margin they've been favored by in the Sun Belt. Good stuff. Good to hear from you, Baseball Nut. I appreciate you. I guess Logan got the whole mailbag started. My guy Logan at LoganBeast23 on X.com. You want to go find him. He just mainly it was just a comment. He said, one more win for bowl eligibility. Why not PJ Hatter? Is Ben Bell coming back? Running back committee, but ultimately a win is a win. Yeah, just a lot going on. It was just a really good synopsis of everything that was going on. I think there's a question about Ben Bell. I'll give you an update there. Spoiler alert, he's not coming back. It's a red shirt. But let's keep it going. Robert Garcia at Robert Garcia, the fourth right there. My guy Robert Garcia working at the stadium. My guy there. Appreciate you, Robert. Holding up the flag in a game earlier this year too at game day, holding up the OMG Texas State flag, letting the nation see that nice logo. All right, this is from Robert. Also, thanks, Robert, for using the hashtag. I didn't remind people to use the hashtag, so you might be the only one, but I appreciate it. 3 games left, all winnable, with 2 of 3 being in the friendly confines of UFCU Stadium. What do you predict our final record will be headed into bowl season? Gosh, this season has been, as I said, my predictions mean nothing at this point. 10-2 is what I had him projected. And one of those 2 losses, they ended up winning. And so all of those other ones were losses that I had him winning. So there you go there. But I will say it's interesting, the pattern of this team, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 win. If we're listening to Vegas, should be another win this week. Hopefully that pattern doesn't stay true and it's 2 more losses to end the year. But I do think Southern Miss, I think that's going to be a win. Georgia State, and you do a little bit more research on but I feel like that's a winnable one as well for Texas State. South Alabama is one that I projected they would lose in fall camp. It's a weird game, day after Thanksgiving, Friday game on the road. I'm still feeling that way with that one. So I feel 2 out of 3 is where I'm thinking. They'll win the next 2. So they'll win that pattern by getting a 3-game win streak, but they'll lose that last one of the season. That's where I'm thinking. They've just shown that they haven't played necessarily well in these weekday games, So I feel a Friday one. It's another funky day for them. I don't feel great about that the finale at South Alabama, but I do feel good this weekend against Southern Miss, and I'm pretty confident with Georgia State. Um, let's take a gander at old Georgia State. Oh man, yeah, they're 0-5 in the Sun Belt. Yeah, okay, yeah, I feel good. Gosh, I didn't realize they were 0-5. Let's look at Georgia State. Those are a lot of L's in a row. Yeah, because they started the season with a loss to Georgia Tech, beat Chattanooga, they beat Vanderbilt, Georgia State. Forgot about that one. They beat Vanderbilt. And then it's lost Georgia Southern, lost Old Dominion, lost Marshall, lost App State, lost UConn, lost to James Madison, Arkansas State this week, and then Texas State. I'm confident in the Bobcats. Kind of, you hate playing a team that's on a really, really long losing streak. So maybe you root for a win over Arkansas State, but then the implications. Oh, no way. That helps out. Yeah, beat Arkansas State. That helps Texas State in the standings. So yeah, absolutely. Go Georgia State this weekend, everybody. Went off on a tangent there, didn't I? 3 games left. Robert Garcia. Yeah, still let's put a bow on it. 2-3 in the last ones. That's where I'm feeling. 7 wins. Same as last season. Going into a bowl game with 7 wins, feeling good. I saw somebody suggest, and I just want to say this wasn't one of the questions, tried to suggest to me that if Texas State goes 6-6, they should decline a bowl. No. Take the bowl. If you go 6-6 and you get a bowl invite, you take it. You take it. Not in a, let's calm down a little bit. We're not in a position to be turning down bowl invites. Just wanted to put that out there. But shout out to Robert Garcia. Appreciate that question. No, you're always throwing in questions on these mailbags. You've been supporting me in the pod for a long time. I really appreciate you, Robert. This is Kenny's burner. Wow. A question from the GJ Kenny. I like that he put it on his avatar that it's actually his burner, just so we all know this is what he uses to lurk. Obviously, I'm joking. This is not GJ Kenny. This is at TXST. Please win. PLZ win. This is great. I haven't seen this account before. Good for you. I like this one. Shout out to you, Kenny's burner. Question for the mailbag. There seems to have been regression on both sides of the ball. What do you think would be the best way to address this? I think we lack an identity on offense. I'm with you there. I think we need another offensive genius to coordinate the offense with Leftwich. I'm with you on the first part. I don't know about the second part because, when I talk about these guys being young and growing and learning from mistakes and evolving through experience, Leftwich is number one on that list because we've seen flashes of excellence with this offense where it looks really, really cool and looks really great. And it's a lot of fun, but it's got to hammer in its identity. And he's a young man. And even being not just a coach, but a man, you're still figuring that out. What is the identity? What is it that we do? What is it that we figure it out? And I'm okay with, like I said, this staff growing here. All of them, the entire staff. I don't think that anybody needs to be let go or changes, or I just don't feel that is the case. I know it's not up to expectations, what we felt in the preseason, but it's still respectable enough. It's not anything that it's not unwatchable, or it's not what it has been before. So I don't know. I think I'm willing to maybe let GJ Kenny call some plays. I don't know, because Leftwich, he's the play caller, but I know GJ Kenny will get in there. He can veto. That's what he said before. Maybe they split that a little more. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. I know that I'm willing to let this team grow with Leftwich, and as he grows into an identity as a coach, the team will grow into that identity as well. I think they can get away with out-talenting teams and not having a true identity, but just being able to out-execute these other teams because they're just better than you. They're just bigger and faster and all these things. But I think that they do need to figure it out. As far as a regression, it's interesting because the Wizard, Zachary Webb, our great producer here at Win Now or Get Bent, he showed it to me where the numbers are actually very similar. Offensive numbers, it's less scoring, but the defense is actually holding teams to less points as well. So the regression on both sides of the ball, I don't know if it's a massive regression on defense. I think it's a little more vulnerable in some areas than last year's defense, specifically like the linebacker position. Although I will say those linebackers played really well against ULM. Last season they had Brian Holloway and Dan Foster at linebacker, two terrific players. And this year it's been a little bit of cycling through, trying to figure it out. We really saw Manny Nunnery playing well at linebacker, Max Harris playing well. Seen Kenny Haynes do some good things this year with the scoop and score. But I feel like things are a little different on defense there. On offense, I mean, whenever you have a quarterback change, it changes the offense no matter what, no matter who the quarterback is, even if they are, well, one's a really good player and the other's also a really good player. They play differently. So it changes things, changes the dynamics. I'm willing to watch. I'm willing to let these guys grow and watch this team grow. That's where I feel with that. I don't feel it's a true offensive regression. I mean, in 38 points in the rain, I'm not really complaining about that a whole lot. I feel like it's inconsistent, definitely, but I think that's something they need to figure out, and that comes with figuring out your identity. Because when you change it up and you're doing something different every single week, it's hard to stay consistent. And if you're not consistent, you're not putting up the same results. But roundabout, I don't disagree with you. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm disagreeing with you, because I do agree that it's not. I wouldn't call it a regression. I would say it stayed pretty similar to last season when we expected it to go up. We expected the things to be much better. Didn't expect it to look so not necessarily the same, but the results we would expect them to be a lot different than what they are. So it feels like a regression, but I don't think that's actually a true regression. Derek Stavanoa, what's up, my guy? D-Stav 1868, my guy. What's up? How you doing? Hope you're well. This still open, or did you already record? Nope, got in there. This is what I'm talking about, the Sunday night one. Is the end zone decks going to be in time for this weekend? I believe, that's interesting, because that's what I heard, that it was supposed to be, for homecoming, Southern Miss this weekend, that it is supposed to be open. So we will see with that. Any word on how many tickets have been sold for this game? Yeah, I will say, going into it, that's something I heard. The Cats Guard and all that stuff, they're pushing for homecoming, for it to be open. It seems like they have, anytime they're like, we're expecting this to happen at this time, it's exceeded my expectations as far as what the stadium and everything was looking like in the offseason and over summer. They've been able to take down that wall in the south end zone and things like that. So hopefully they are able to pull that out and pull out Cats Guard. As far as tickets sold for the game, that's something we start to hear more Wednesday, Thursday in the week. So I'll have that for you in the preview. We'll talk more about that, but that will be interesting, because we saw Louisiana on top of the Sun Belt West Division. They're rolling 5-0 in conference. They have a homecoming game, and their announced attendance was 16,000 and change. Bobcats had more on Tuesday against that same team than Louisiana had at their homecoming on a Saturday. So, don't take for granted these crowds for Texas State either. It's been, I know at the 5-4, not what everybody wants, but it's still, in my opinion, in my analysis, a successful season for Texas State. To be determined. If they lose out, I'll change my tune, but I don't think they will, so I won't have to. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. But yeah, Derek, I'll get you an update on both of those, honestly, before the game on Saturday, the end zone opening those up. I'll at least tweet about that right when I hear about it. Appreciate you, Derek. Hope you're well, man. Rianne is up next. Rianne. Hi, Rianne. I hope you are doing great. She won the tickets from TGC at some point this season. Got to get you that hat. We'll get you that Cats by 90 hat. Send that your way. Piggybacking off of Logan's question, what's up with PJ Hatter? He showed such potential last season of being dual threat that QB Jackson is appearing to be. Is he not putting in the reps at practice? Can we get an update on what you're seeing there? Yeah, PJ Hatter, I think it's more a case of Brad Jackson came in and just and blew everybody away. It was beyond his years as a true freshman. I think getting in early, getting in the spring went a long way for that. He's able to by the time his first season starts, he has a semester of college under his belt. So all the newness and all the shock of that is in the past. I think he was able to get a jump on this offense, and I mean even going back to him being a recruit, I'm pretty sure he was the first commit to that class, high school commit for DJ Kinney. Stay true, signed into that class. Every single event that they have, I can remember him being at like the block party they had last year when he's in high school, was showing up to things like that. Just being around, I'd see him on the sideline a lot last year. He's very much around this team. He's very committed to everything that's going on. So I feel like he just surpassed PJ Hatter. PJ Hatter, we saw him in that Jacksonville State game last season, that big blowout for the Bobcats. He got in that last series. They called it back, but it was a 60 some odd yard touchdown run. We saw the athletic ability from PJ Hatter. The difference is seeing Brad Jackson do it for an extended period against a pretty good conference opponent, not an FCS opponent like we saw in garbage time, like we saw with Jacksonville State last year. I just think he's surpassed him. Brad Jackson surpassed him, which is it's a shame for PJ Hatter. I'm still rooting for PJ Hatter. Still think he's a terrific athlete and is worthy of snaps at some point in his career. But if I were him, I'd take it as a time to lock in. You look at that, and a guy came in and surpassed you. You got to lock in. You got to take it back. That's what he has to do. But that's my read. That's my read on that whole situation. And you could see the tea leaves going into in spring and in fall camp. GJ Kinney, he'd go out of his way to talk about Brad Jackson. Brad Jackson, this guy, he's terrific. Kid can do it. So it's I think the surprises are like, oh man, he actually played a true freshman in the 8th game of the season when he really needs a win. He's gonna put on in the first half, and wasn't like a blowout or anything like that. It was bold. It was bold, but it goes to show you how they feel about Brad Jackson. A lot of Brad Jackson talk this episode. I love it. B-Jack, he's been on the pod. I'm pretty sure. You can scroll back to last season when he committed. Pretty sure he's in there. Appreciate you, Rihanna. Hope you are well. Gonna order my wife some of those Texas State shoes you tweeted about. I have the link to them. Those are pretty cool. Next up, my guy, Mason Flores. Mason, hope you are well at Big Mace 75. Great handle. If Nash Jones makes the cut, would he be the first Texas State player to play in the Shrine Bowl? What round do you think he gets drafted? He would be the first player. I cheated a little bit on this question because I saw it and was like, oh, that's interesting. I need to look that up. He would be the first player. No player has been selected, but they do have players on the 2025 Senior Bowl watch list: Jordan McLeod, Deion Hankins, Joey Hobart, Nash Jones, Ben Bell, and Stephen Parker. The East-West Shrine Bowl is a college all-star football game that features players from the Eastern and Western United States. The game is a chance for top college players to show off their skills to NFL scouts and a national television audience. The 2025 East-West Shrine Bowl will take place on January 30th, 2025 at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. There you go. If you're wondering what the Shrine Bowl is, Bobcats are on the watch list. No, I was interested to see that there hadn't been any Bobcats. Specifically, I talked about Keenan Brown earlier. That's somebody that I thought would have made, but he wasn't a senior. There it is. Because he left a year early. He came to Texas State, played one season, had a year left, decided to leave. Because I remember it was Withers last year, so Withers was out, and it was Spav. And we were, offensive guru. Yeah, okay. Hey, shout out to Baylor. Not doing bad. But we were a lot of anticipation. It was like, oh man, if only Keenan Brown could have been in this Spavital offense. And then they didn't do much with tight ends either. So, but yeah, I guess that's why he wasn't in the Shrine Bowl. But yeah, first one. He'd be the first one. What round do I think he'll go in? Highest drafted Bobcat, I'm pretty sure it's 3rd round, 2015 with Craig Mager. 13, 14, 15 with Craig Mager, who I saw earlier this year. Got to see him meet his son. That was cool. His little baby son just born this year. Um, but I think around there, I do. And and this is honestly, this is me total speculation. Haven't talked to any scouts or anything about that specifically, but I see him as a third rounder, third, fourth, fifth rounder. I imagine he'd be a steal if it's sixth or seventh round. I mean, this is a player that he really believes in this offense in this coaching staff, the offense line coaching staff, the head coaching staff, all of it. I mean, he could have gone to much bigger schools. He could have gone to a Baylor, could have gone to a few other of these P4 schools and chose to stay at Texas State. Just a really strong player as well, benching 500 pounds and squatting a whole bunch. He's a next level talent, no doubt about it. So I think I would love it. My Raiders need some offensive line. Nash Jones, go get him. Dorian Strawn, wouldn't mind that either. He's not bad. Dorian Strawn, Talik Lockett, he's getting a lot of praise on a list as well. So Talik Lockett deserves some good praise. So offensive line has been a terrific unit. And we talk about, I said it earlier, where the whole starting five unit has played the whole season. Should mention that it was a little bit of interchanging at that right tackle spot. Before Alex Harkey solidified it over Trenton Scott. So that's worth noting. But that's my speculation. I would say around a third round. I could be totally biased and say first, second round, but I just don't think that's the case. I don't think they're looking at Texas State for anybody that high. I think Ben Bell, if he had kept playing, he could have gotten maybe a little higher or something like that. It seems like he's aiming to transfer somewhere. Otherwise, why would he take a red shirt to save his eligibility if he wasn't planning on going somewhere else? But appreciate you, Mason. Big Mace. Hope Nash Jones goes higher than I said, but I fully anticipate him being an NFL talent. It's been a long time since Bobcat's been drafted. The same draft, David Mayo, 5th round. That was the last time someone was drafted. Atomic Punk, my guy, Atomic Punk at JTESP I87. What's up? Did you write that down? You got to go follow him. Is Brad Jackson the future? Great win in bad weather conditions and on the road. Agreed. Great win in bad weather conditions and on the road. I agree with that. Is Brad Jackson the future? TBD. Don't know yet. I need to see more passing. 14 passes. Not enough for me to be like to hand him the keys to anoint him. It's a great win. Thought it was a nice little catch them with their pants down a little bit by throwing in this quarterback and completely changing what you do. You're running the ball down their throat. I did appreciate that, but don't know yet. I need to see more. I will say, I would, if we go into the offseason and they're saying it's going to be him, he's going to start. This is the Brad Jackson offseason. We're going to build him up and he's going to start next season. Wouldn't be opposed. Don't know if it would work, but wouldn't be opposed. Appreciate you, Tom Punk. Hope you're well, my guy. AJ Lerma at AJ in Lerma. How you doing, AJ? Where is Adelaide and Wright? I'm glad you brought this up because we're going to use this time to talk about the defensive line a little bit. Devin Wright's been hurt all season. That's something I didn't catch on until about 3 or 4 games into the season. Number 11 at the defensive end spot. Boise State player, played really well last year. Leaner defensive lineman or defensive end, really gets around the edge pretty well on the pass rush, but he's been hurt all year. So I suspect whatever he has is a season-long injury. Adelie, Toon-Misa Adelie, Michigan State transfer. He hasn't played the last 2 games. I'm assuming that is an injury as well. Number 30 on the defensive line for them. Two pretty big pieces that would have been in the rotation. Right, it's not anything that they're missing from this season. They hadn't had him all season, but Adelaide was really starting to come along. Ben Bell, red shirt, still a red shirt. Everything we know, it's a red shirt. He's not coming back. They could really use him. All these defensive line injuries, but it is what it is. Stephen Parker hurt since Louisiana. Saw him on crutches. We talked to TJ Kinney about that one. He wasn't too encouraged about the length on that. Another one you didn't ask about is Lange, Amapolice Lange, the Houston transfer. He's been out since Arizona State. Another big defensive lineman. So that's a lot of, this was a really deep defensive line group that got really thin. I mean, right, we won't count Wright, but we'll count Let's see, one, two, three, four players that are very much in the rotation, two of which are starters at the defensive end, and Ben Bell and Stephen Parker. So they're without a lot of guys. Seen a lot of Bryce Bass, Khalil Alexander, Jalazen Landry, Dominic Ratcliffe, Tavian Coleman, Terry Webb, Alex Merritt, even Nathan Hirta. Sorry if I said your last name wrong. It's the first time I've said it because they're having to really dig deep into the bag for the defensive line, which is interesting because they were so deep at that position that now they're really having to put in some guys. Even so, played really well in ULM being shorthanded. But it's been the injury bug. It's hit that D line room after they seemed like they were doing really well staying away from injury. And I jinxed it. Just talking to my guy, Colton McWilliams, San Marcos Day of the Record. Shout out to Colton. Got the cool cowboy hat on. You guys, you know who he is at this point. I said, man, they've done such a great job not being hurt. It's right before that Louisiana game. And then McLeod's hurt by halftime. Parker's on crutches. I was like, golly, man, if I had just bit my tongue on that one. But there you go. A lot of injuries on that D line. It's a tough one. It's something that's been the heart of this defense. So they need to figure that one out. Appreciate you there, AJ. Hope you are well, my guy. Mr. Cash Only at Cute Girl Scorp. All right. That's confusing. So are you a cute girl Scorp, short for Scorpio? Don't know. Or are you Mr. Cash Only? Are you Mr.? I don't, hey, I'm asking too many questions over here and I'm supposed to be answering them. Here we go for Mr. Cash Only. Shout out to Mr. Cash Only. When's the last time a true freshman has played basically a whole game for the Cats? I initially replied Tyler Jones with a question mark, but it's because I wasn't sure. Further research, this is another one I cheated on. Further research, Tyler Vitt, 2018, started 5 games as a true freshman. There you go. Tyler Vitt, 2018. That was the last time. I'm assuming you meant true freshman at quarterback for the record. There's been true freshmen at many positions over the years. One of the better ones was Brian London, thinking about it, his freshman year. He just really burst onto the scene. Appreciate you, Cute Girl Scorp. Go follow him, everybody, on x.com. Kevin Muth up next. How you doing, Kevin? Hope you're well. Very active on these Texas State Twitter streets. I appreciate you, Kevin. At KMuth74, you talked about, quote, rat poison, end quote, before the season and how it could affect the team. Team hasn't met expectations. Was it a lack of chemistry with new players, the Ben Bell saga, although you probably won't answer until after the season, coaching, or some other distraction? I won't answer. I won't answer the Ben Bell one. Well, I should be, we've asked about Ben Bell and we're told it's an injury week to week. We don't know, but we know he's going to take a red shirt. I don't think that has created any of the, I don't think it's created any of the locker room, anything going on that has affected the season as far as wins and losses. I think his absence has not helped. I mean, they definitely need him, especially all these injuries that we just talked about, but I don't think it's been like players are feeling a certain type of way. It didn't seem like it, at least, whenever just the feel from everybody and the way they still have him on the sideline during the games wearing his jersey. So I mean, there must not be a lot of bad blood. So I wouldn't put it on that. I wouldn't put it on the Ben Bell thing. I don't love that whole scenario, but I wouldn't put it on that. Lack of chemistry with new players that could play into it. New quarterback, not having a pinned down identity specifically on offense, is really has hurt this team because they jump out to these leads and they can hold the lead, 14-0 lead in this last one after the first quarter. If they do that in the first quarter, that's a recipe for success for the Bobcats. They have to jump up and get a lead because they do not do a good job of playing from behind or playing catch up. Seems like if the other team scores first, they're going to hold on to that lead. So that's been I would put it more on that, some chemistry. I think it's honestly the two of the 4 that you listed. Because whether it's some other distraction, I couldn't tell you. But I would say a lack of chemistry and coaching. Now, again, I want to say this is not me saying these are bad coaches, but if there is a lack of chemistry, that's because of coaching. I think those two go hand in hand. And it not meeting expectations. I don't know if it was rat poison. They're reading too many of their clippings. I feel like that hurt them maybe in like the Sam Houston game. There's a little bit of hubris in that one that ended up getting them. But I think it's really just been they were ill prepared for what they should be. You know, not as fully prepared as they should be. And I shouldn't say ill prepared as if this is a bad team, because this isn't a bad team. They're not blowing everybody out like they should. When they win big. What are their last three wins? I mean, we just saw it 38-17 last week. And then 41-9 over Arkansas State, 38-17 over Troy, 49-10 over UTSA. The closest one was 34-27. Lamar, we just mentioned they were 33.5-point favorites in that one. See, that's the other thing, is the playing down to opponents, and just not having that consistency. And you can't be consistent if you don't have an identity, because you don't know who you are going into every single game. So they've really got to nail that down. But I think that's a lot of it, and a lot of it is on coaches. They've done a really good job. They've improved this place. If they want to take it further than what they've done, 7-8 win seasons, they've got to nail that aspect of it down, because they've got the players, they've got the guys. Just got to use them right. Appreciate you, Kevin. Hope that answered your question. Probably not the answer you want, but try to help you out there. Tyler Owens up next, my guy, at T_Owens84. Tyler Owens. This team doesn't look anything like last year. We saw flashes of it this season, but very far from expectations. Do you think the SHSU loss shattered our season? Why is it we showed zero heart against LLU? Oh, I like that. Not ULL. LLU, we reversed it. A little extra disrespect. It would have put us in the driver's seat for the SBC championship. With you there, with you on the last one. Wish they had really, played up to that game. Didn't seem like they took it as serious as they should have. In saying it doesn't look anything like last year, even statistically, if you look at the scoring on both sides, offensive scoring and defensive scoring, there's a little bit of improvement defensively, holding teams less points, and a little bit of regression offensively, still getting over 30 points a game. I'd have to go look at those stats. Probably could pull it up while I'm talking really quick, honestly, because here's the Sunbelt page. Texas, let's see, stats. We're going to talk while we do it. Don't worry. I'm getting there. It's loading right now. Here we go. Boom. Scoring offenses in the Sun Belt. Texas State is fourth at 33.1 points per game. Let's take a look at 2023 season real fast. 36.7. So 3.7 point difference, 3.6 point difference in scoring on offense and defense. Now, I'm still on 2023, so let's look at the defense. 32.8 points per game the Texas State defense was allowing per game last season. Granted, 77 points came from Arkansas State, really messed up that whole deal. But 77 points scored against Jacksonville State, messing up on offense. So it goes back and forth. 2024 defense, Texas State is third. Should mention they were 12th in 2024. They're third in scoring defense. 22 points per game is what they are allowing. I wouldn't say this team looks completely different than they did last year. That's not where I clock it. And now I lost my questions. Where are we going here? I want to see the rest of this question. Because I don't feel like it's saying it looks completely different. It's honestly, they went 4-4 in Sunbelt last season. I mean, seven wins in the regular season. If anything, it's very similar. The inconsistency where it's like, oh man, we see the highest of highs, and then you play Coastal, and then you play Arkansas State, and there's two terrible losses. So it has been that inconsistent. So I don't think it looks different than last year. I think it looks the same inconsistency. It ended on a good note. They finished the regular season with a win, then they won a bowl game. So it's easy to look back on it with rose-tinted glasses, because it still was a great season. First time they'd had a season like that ever at the FBS level. So I'm not taking anything away from it, but I'm also just trying to give some perspective when you're looking at the team this year. That I don't think the Sam Houston State game shattered their season, but man, it is interesting to think if they had won that one, what would this whole situation look like? They'd probably already be bowl eligible, maybe a little more confidence in them, but who knows? Who knows with that one? But appreciate you, Tyler. Hope you're doing well. This is from Silly Rabbit at Petronilo Garza. Petronilo Garza. All right, at Petronilo Garza. Go follow him on X.com. Good win. Why is Jackson the backup? Passing game was off, wasn't needed, but it was not good. I think it's developmental reasons why he was the backup because RJ Martinez didn't look terrible against Louisiana, looked really good throwing the ball. And I think if they needed to throw the ball and McLeod was injured, probably would have been Martinez. But in that game, when you're running that ball, McLeod's ankle, bum ankle, you run him. If you run him in that game, probably going to exacerbate that leg. Might as well put Brad Jackson in there. If that's your best runner in the backup quarterback position, then put that guy in there. Let him go. I'm more intrigued that it was Jackson over Hatter as far as a dual threat running the ball situation, especially what we saw from Hatter last season when he was able to take off against Jacksonville State. But it was a passing game being off, rainy day, terrible weather, rained that whole game. Saw it with Bobcats honestly did a good job protecting the ball, fumbles. We saw it happen with ULM. They fumbled the ball quite a bit. But I appreciate you. Appreciate you, Silly Rabbit. Looks like this is our last one from our guy, Curtis Spillman. Curtis, my guy, at Curtis Spillman 2. Can someone tell our center that feet are not hands? Good thing we have short QBs. Chase Todd, he won the center going into it. They more so out of necessity, even beat out a true center to get that starting position because he's a terrific offensive lineman. Could have started and played a lot more last season if it wasn't for some other guys starting ahead of him. Thinking like Bray Walker and Caleb Johnson at guard center position. He's done a really good job blocking. Snapping, it's been a little suspect at the beginning of the year. Really corrected it the last few games. Saturday, rainy weather. I'm not fully putting it on him. Wasn't the best snaps, wasn't the most crisp snaps, but it didn't end in something devastating. So I'm okay. I think Chase Todd, I'm still I'm happy with his season and what he's done. This offensive line in general, I really like what they've done. I thought they've throughout the year they've been solid. Even when it's been inconsistent, they've been solid. When there's been times when the run game wasn't necessarily popping, I don't fully put that on the offensive line. I think that was more so they just weren't using that whole room. They've got a room full of, they've got 5 running backs that can go in different kinds of ways. And it's pretty interesting to watch. The two most similar are probably Mahdi and Burgess as far as running styles. But then you have like power guy with Deion Hankins. You got Jalen Jenkins, more of a scat back, come out and catch the ball. And then Lincoln Perry, of course. Lincoln's just solid running back. I feel like I feel confident in him in most situations. We saw them do the goal line with 4th and 1. It didn't work out for him. Maybe that's not his speed, but in any other facet of it, I'm okay with Lincoln Perry. But yeah, that's it. That's the mailbag. Boom. Extra long episode, huh? What are we at? What time? Wow, we're over an hour. Awesome. Took some time off, so it was good to get you a little extra in this one. This episode was brought to you by TGC LLC, the Galindo Collective.com. That's GALINDO, thegalindo-collective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindo-collective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter, X, at TGC_LLC, and on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad. He's been with us since last season. He's been helping us get you guys to the games with our TGC ticket giveaway. Stay tuned for that for homecoming. We'll have some tickets for that one. Hope to see a lot of you out there loud and proud this Saturday for homecoming at Southern Miss. But shout out to the Galindo Collective, the Galindo Collective, GALINDO, the Galindo-collective.com. And one more for our guys at Chilsey. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. You can see me holding up a Win Now or Get Bent tumbler with our great Mad Cat logo on there. You could put any logo you want on this tumbler, and if you order 6 or more, punch in Bobcats at the checkout. They're only $15 a piece. That's a great deal. You can't beat that deal. But also, we have koozies. Check these out. You can get koozies from chilsey.com. Any logo you want on them, any style, white, black, American. We just had an election, so hey, let's be a little patriotic, huh? With some American koozies. But you can get any of these. We've been passing them out all season. See you at the game. If you're at homecoming, hit me up. I'll come bring you some koozies. But shout out to chilsey.com. That's CHILLZEY.com. Shout out to my guy Dennis Redding, a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad. Has been letting us pass out these koozies since last season. So I really appreciate him. Really thankful to him. Go check them out and check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/winnnoworgetbent. Our great intern, Reese Largent, cracking away on there. Got to get him on the pod again. Wonder how he's feeling about this team. Love following him on Twitter. Go check him out on Twitter, Reese_Largent. That's RHYS, Reese. I had to think about that. Did I spell that right? Yeah, RHYS, Reese. Interesting spelling, Reese Largent. Go find him. He's got some great takes on the Bobcats. Check out our merch site, WNOGB.com. I'm not wearing the shirt right now because, like I said, I have sick babies and they're sleeping in my bedroom, and the shirts are in that closet. So, not wearing any of the gear. Go check it out. We got mugs, shirts, sweaters, all the great stuff. WNOGB.com. Check out our merch. Help support us a little bit. Support us further on YouTube. Check out our YouTube, Win Now or Get Bent. YouTube.com/@WinNowOrGetBent. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Getting those subscriptions up. Really appreciate y'all. We're getting closer and closer to 1,000. That's what we're trying to reach. We're getting there. And once we get there, we want to keep going, keep it pushing. Check us out on Twitter @WinNowOrGetBent, on Instagram @WNOGB. Like, subscribe, comment on all our platforms, Apple, Spotify. If you're listening on audio, shout out to our audio heads. That's how I consume pods. Best way to consume a pod. Make sure you subscribe. Spotify has a subscribe option now. So go in there, hit that subscribe button for us on Spotify. I know we've been able to do that on Apple anyway. And once you subscribe, you can leave a review and a comment and all that good stuff. So get in there and do all that. It helps us grow as much traction as we can get. Thank you to First Lock, National Bank, McNabb. Thank you to Austin Patchmaster. We'll see them coming up soon. Thank you to Chilsey, and thank you to TGC LLC, of course. Our great producer, the wizard, Zachary Webb, always making this pod look awesome. And of course, thank you to you sickos. We'd be shouting out into the void without you. All your support over the years. It's been awesome. It's been a fun season. Not as fun as we anticipated, but you know what? The Bobcats, it's not mediocre here anymore. It's not subpar. And we at least can hang our hat on that. We're able to beat teams that they should beat. And none more so should they beat than Southern Miss this week. 27-point favorites. So we'll see. Hopefully that roller coaster is a fun one. But all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Win now or get bent.